me start then by introducing this motion, which is what is the future of CRM. And of course, really the $6 million question is, can we achieve this CRM Nirvana? You know, can we keep most of the company's customers happy most of the time?
Hello, I'm Matthew James from Home Retail Group, which is Argos and Homebase. I think our view of the world is that complaints are always going to exist. I think no matter what we do or what we say, complaints are always going to be around. And I think once that we acknowledge and accept that fact, I think there's three key areas that are going to help us deal with complaints once they arrive. I think the first one is culture. I think industry has to decide what it wants to do. Does it want to satisfy its customers within complaints, or does it want to delight them? We've got to try and decide what our objective is within the complaints arena. What culture do we want? Do we want to be looking at quantity or quality? The second key ingredient is people. You obviously got to have the right people doing the right things in the right way, and it's your people who are going to drive the culture that you want within your business. Culturally, you've got to be sound. The third bit is technology. You've got to have the right systems in place. These systems have got to be intuitive, intelligent, and user-friendly, and they've actually got to tell you something. If your systems don't tell you anything, then actually what's the point in having them? You have to go back to the drawing board and determine, you know, what do we need to do to get the right information out. And as home retail groups regulated by the Financial Services Authority, we certainly can't be dealing in systems that don't provide the right sort of information. Just covering the bit about social media, I think industry has to start using this an awful lot more now. The likes of Twitter and Facebook. Customers use these areas now as legitimate complaint channels. And I think as business, we need to actually try and catch up with our customers and get on the same page as them, but ultimately get a few pages ahead of them so we're ready for the challenge when it actually arrives. And I guess to end on a positive note, I think from my view of the world, complaints are actually a very positive thing. You know, they tell us as business what we do well and what we can actually do better. And I think industry right across the piece has to embrace that information and use it for the betterment of both the business and the customer.
We're in a different world. I work in a very different world to the business to consumer, but it's very much a case of our customer service. We have the escalations back into our development group, so it is. We've got to fix it. Right? If there's a problem, we've got to fix it. Some of these are mission critical systems running banks and pension funds and the like. We can't just say, "I'm sorry." Right? So it is a case of making sure you do stick with it. And again, it's understanding. When the guy rings back again, we've got to know he's ringing back again. It isn't the first touch. So capturing all that information and creating that intimacy is so important. Otherwise, you just get very annoyed customers. We've got customers. We're 35 odd years old. We've got customers we've had from the beginning. And okay, you could say some of our products could be very sticky, right, and they can't walk away from them. They would find a way to move away from our products if we weren't giving good service. So it is the fact they can rely on us, the fact that we're there for them, the fact we know what they've got, what they're doing. That's the sort of thing that engenders the relation. That's the R in CRM. That's the relationship that we have. And that's another side of the relationship is we're evolving our products now to meet the customer's needs rather than any idea that we've got of our own. With the newer products, very much we're making sure we define what they're going to be and going forward. So it's just I refer to it as intimacy. It's just knowing who the hell they are.
I think the important thing is to get the balance, because you can't have a business which just does customer service, and you can't have a business which just does commerciality, for want of a better phrase. Because if you don't get the balance right, then you go up, you know, in like the example of Borders. Now, the example of Borders, it was just a very nice library. And I used to go there, and it was good. I used to love going there. You sit down, you'd buy the coffee, but you wouldn't buy anything else. You'd have a good flick through, and that was that. We found in our industry, with our holidays, that it's the people that make a difference. And just to give you some, we're talking about some stats today, I'll give you some stats from my business. When we send out our post-holiday questionnaires, the scores that our tour guides get, it's 90%. That was the figure that we got last year, because we know that they make a difference. When we look at the feedback that we get from our letters, it is mostly about the people on those holidays. We take people all over the world, the Great Wall of China, the Grand Canyon. They don't write in and say, "Thanks for taking me to see the Great Wall of China." They say, "Thanks for Frank showing me around the Great Wall of China. Wasn't he great?" Because it's the people. And that's how we've differentiated our service. And to turn that into a business gain, we now put Frank in our brochures and on our websites. His name isn't Frank, by the way. Whatever his name is.
What a disappointment.
Sorry. Okay, his name's Jonathan, actually.
Jonathan.
We'll use his own name.
Jonathan, you've got another...
But the point is that you've then used that service to differentiate you, make your product stand out, you know people like it, and then you can use it as a sales tool.